This is a film study look at how Aidan Hutchinson really dominated and controlled the Cleveland Browns right tackle en route to 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. We all know he actually had 3 sacks in a second strip of Joe Flacco. Unfortunately, it was negated by a penalty on Brian Branch. Hutchinson kind of unveiled a slightly new stance. I think that's a little lower. It almost looks like a track stance, in my opinion, than we saw last week against the Ravens. I think for the second week in a row, you see this dynamic occurring with him that I want to mention before we get to the film, and that's that he seems to get better as the game goes on. Maybe as Detroit is stopping or slowing down the run game, there's just more pure pass rush situations, and so Hutchinson's getting more of those opportunities. I'll accept that as a factor, but I don't think it's the complete explanation. Hutchinson seems to be in fantastic shape, displaying that great pursuit of the football that Dan Campbell has talked about so often. And in this game, just like the Ravens win in Baltimore last week, he got better as the game went along. Stark contrast to guys like Myles Garrett, who sometimes, are dominant in the first quarter, quarter and a half, maybe first half, but then fade off after halftime. That's not Aidan Hutchinson at all. So we'll generally spot shadow him in yellow. This is the move that he used almost the whole game. And you saw really no adjustment from Stefanski, to very few or rare adjustments, I should say. Remember how often Green Bay chipped Hutchinson? That just did not occur a whole lot yesterday against the Browns. They would often have a tight end within striking distance of him, but Fanning and Njoku are both guys that they want to get out in routes, meaning they personally want to get out in routes, and Stefanski wants them to as well. That their system is not predicated on chipping the defensive ends that often, and it really came back to haunt them. Hutchinson kept winning with that same move, basically. This is the gift interception, obviously, early in the second quarter. Hutchinson didn't have a ton of impact early, and then, like I said, second quarter and after halftime really heated up. Spot shadowed and yelled at the bottom side of the screen. And one thing to note, 4-3 response for the Lions against 12 personnel. So 2 tight ends on the field in Fanning and Njoku. Same move by Hutchinson, kind of a ghost move, if you will, to get past the right tackle, who just was out-athleted, in my opinion. The get-off from Hutchinson was amazing. Oftentimes he's in this like tilted down stance, kind of old-school Philadelphia Eagles stuff. I much prefer him in this stance compared to a 3-point stance. I actually remember before the Lions even drafted him, it was the first draft that I really paid attention to. I liked Trayvon Walker and Aidan Hutchinson, but I remember saying or thinking, he seems to play better out of a 4-point stance. This was almost too easy. Like I said, Stefanski just kept leaving the right tackle all on his own. I'll try to talk about the structure of the Lions defense as much as possible when I'm talking about, when I'm conducting a player video, whether it's on Branch, Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, or whatever, which, by the way, I will have a Jack Campbell video out hopefully Monday night. 4-3 structure against 12 personnel. Like I said, there's the 2 tight ends on the left-hand side, and they motion the running back out. There's literally no one to help this guy at all. I think he's a backup, so say whatever you want about production for Hutchinson. He's on a roll, and that's an NFL offensive tackle that he tore up yesterday. I just think there's no justification from a Browns standpoint for not having a specific plan for Hutchinson. And in fact, later on, I'll show you 1 or 2 plays where it almost seems like they're expecting him to be on the opposite side because they're comboing or double teaming the edge defender opposite of Aidan Hutchinson. Moving forward here, we're now going to be into the 5th possession. This is once Detroit is up 10-7. And he kind of plays over the tight end, almost like roadkill. This is Harold Fanning Jr., super talented guy. It's a great read by Anzalone, or great fill, I should say, downhill immediately on the snap, and collisions Njoku, who is just not a really high-level run blocker. I mean, I know that from seeing the Ravens play against him twice a year, and this is what I'm talking about with Hutchinson. He kind of like plays over the top of Fanning. You'll get the end zone angle so you can see it, a little bit better for yourself. Just great reactions by Anzalone to stuff that whole of 3 inside linebacker structure, and Anzalone comes downhill to deal with the gap. It's kind of a duo concept from the Browns. Sometimes you have a guy peel off, and I don't know what they call duo. Generally, duo I would refer to as a straight double team, but these guys are comboing off to the inside linebacker level. We're talking about the 2 guards. And then as far as Hutchinson goes, a slight push or touch from Njoku. It's just not enough. Fanning can do a lot of things. He's very talented and gifted. I think he's going to have a great season for the Browns, but he can't do this. He got overpowered a couple of times by Hutchinson. Here's one of them. Maybe his feet get tangled up with the left tackle, but as it stands, Hutchinson plays over the top of him, and they stop the running back, for a 3-yard gain. Cleveland finished with, I think, 27 carries for 79 yards. And so it's second week in a row where Detroit has absolutely shut down the run game for an AFC North opponent. Top side, into the ball's in the middle of the field here, so he's not into the field or the boundary, but it's 12 personnel once again, and it's split zone with Fanning coming to block him. You'll get 2 examples of this type of play in this film study video. Same possession, 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 7 after that 3-yard gain. And this time, Hutchinson's going to spill it. So what I mean is he goes to the inside, and that allows the running back to bounce it. Well, what's the problem? Campbell is at Sam, and I don't think he's used to being there. He's used to being here, the Mike. And so there's a gap exchange that should occur, in my opinion. Basically, if Hutchinson's going to go inside, underneath the kick-out block, then Campbell needs to switch the gaps, gap exchange it, fold over the top on a spill or wrong arm technique by the defensive end. He does not, and I think it's Judkins for a 10-yard gain. One of the biggest gains that they had on the day from a run standpoint. I really like that Anzalone, Barnes, and Campbell are on the field at the same time often. Those guys really seem to be getting work done. All 3 of them were very effective against the run and in pass coverage. Hutchinson moved back over to the Lions' left. It did seem like there were times where they intentionally matched him up with the right tackle, where Shepard moved him over to match up with the right tackle in passing situations. This is a 2nd and 8 on the 7th possession. After the Lions have gone up by 10 points. And it's essentially the same thing from a move standpoint for Hutchinson. A little bit of a ghost and then a rip. Fanning released out into the flats immediately. There is actually a hold called on the right tackle. So, it's the dichotomy there, right? Between chipping, but that delays your release out into the flats, or release out into the flats, but not help your right tackle at all. And in this case, that's what Stefanski and those guys chose consistently. I think that's where they call the hold on this one. I didn't think it was as egregious as other holds that we've seen against Hutchinson in the past couple of years. Pretty poor job by Amik Robertson in tackling. Fanning kind of powers his way, got close, but they called a hold on the right tackle, and that forced the punt with about a minute left that Detroit turned into another field goal. Down here on the right-hand side of the defense to the tight end, another split zone situation. So it's a 2-high safety structure. At this point, Kirby is out, and then he returns soon thereafter. It's the 8th possession. We're into the 3rd quarter. Fanning is going to work across, and watch the shot that he takes from Aidan Hutchinson. Not as low of a stance, right? This is not his pass rush stance. And then he takes on the kick-out block. I don't really think Fanning has a lane. Maybe the left tackle's feet are in the way, but I think it's also because Hutchinson squeezes this down so tight. Not really concerned about the boot by Flacco. And when you get the end zone angle, you'll see how violent Hutchinson was with that collision and then throwing Fanning off of him to make the tackle for only a 2-yard gain. When he's healthy and playing 1,000 miles an hour, pissed off, if you will, to get to the football, I don't know of another defensive lineman that's got this type of motor. You can see the difference in the stance for what I'm talking about compared to earlier. He's not tilted down as much, not in as much of a track stance. 4-3 structure from the Lions. They got Barnes set up to Fanning's side, and then Anzalone here. So Campbell is once again the Mike. And then look at how he dislodges Fanning on this. Just overwhelms him with brute strength pretty much, because his pad level is a little bit higher than Fanning's block. I just love the collision. Like if you're gonna utilize a split zone concept on me, I'm gonna make you pay. So if the coach wants to continue to call it, you as the tight end, in this case a rookie, you're gonna have to deal with me, Hutchinson. You're gonna have to deal with how violent he is at the point of attack. Really, I thought upended Cleveland's physicality at some point in the second half. There was a moment where Cleveland's offense was moving the ball a little bit in the run game, maybe early 3rd quarter, mid, I'm not sure. And there was a couple of plays like this where the front 6, front 7 for Detroit totally flipped the dynamic in terms of the physicality, and really, I thought, took control. They were already in control on the scoreboard, but took control and made Cleveland extremely one-dimensional, and that one dimension obviously was not effective, meaning Flacco throwing the football. One of the situations where they're going to chip him is on this 8th possession. It's directly there following that run play that I just showed you. It's a 2nd and 8. And so you're going to get the tackle stepping out while Njoku is chipping him. That's not exactly the path that occurs here. And watch how quick Hutchinson's able to swipe or chop with the outside hand and then rip with the inside hand right here and totally break the posture of the right tackle after the chip. Branch is all over Fanning in the middle of the field. I don't think this is the one where he gets called for a hold. It's actually a really great catch by Fanning, and Branch is providing pretty tight coverage, if you ask me. Like I said, he's a very impressive rookie. Leading up to the Ravens game against Cleveland in Week 2, I was impressed by his play and how much they were asking him to get done. In this case, beating one of the better safeties in the NFL one-on-one in a man coverage situation. Here's the stance that I'm talking about for Hutchinson. I think it's slightly different than the one I talked about earlier. Look at how he is angling his body down, really trying to get in a low stance. This, to me, seems to be a little bit, it seems to me like they worked on this between the Ravens game and Cleveland. Not that he wasn't tilted down a little bit, but this seems a little bit more extreme, and I really like it. It seems to work for him as far as getting off the ball first. He's consistently the guy getting the deepest in the field compared to anyone else on this defensive line for Detroit. Chip by Njoku, and I mean, it is the hold on Branch. This is the forced fumble that gets called back. When you get the end zone angle, you'll see the right tackle kind of peels down to take an inside linebacker, and it just leaves Hutchinson totally unblocked. You can't do that. I am continuing to be confused and disappointed by the camera angles that the NFL is giving us for the all-22 and end zone angles. If you're not familiar, oftentimes when you're coaching, you'll get the all-22 or coach's angle, and then I'm not talking about the NFL, I mean high school, college, whatever, and then you'll get the end zone copy wide and the end zone copy tight. The NFL is kind of trying to do all three, but with only two angles. It's so weird, the end zone angle, the way that things are playing out quite often. Here's the same play from the end zone angle, chip by Njoku, and they really just forget about him. You can see that Hutchinson's here on the outside, going to close down. Meanwhile, Branch has got a hold of Fanning. The hold's not necessarily called here. I think it's called there when Fanning tries to turn and Branch doesn't let go for a moment. Really unfortunate because Hutchinson probably in Defensive Player of the Week consideration if he has, 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles on the day, both of which would have been recovered by Detroit. I really wonder what the conversation will be like between him and Brian Branch, who certainly has drawn a lot of penalties this season. Another example of the stance that I'm talking about for Hutchinson, angled down, and the same exact move. We're now into the 10th possession. Really functionally, we knew the game was over, that Cleveland's offense just wasn't getting anything done. They had the first drive for a touchdown, and thereafter Flacco was ineffective and very inefficient. Same move, basically, variation of it, ghost, and then not even a rip. He's just running by the tackle. No help at all. Look at the running back stepping opposite here. And Hutchinson all over Flacco now. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually finish this one. This is the one where Judy is open, and of course DJ Reed comes up with a hamstring injury before the ball even gets there, so I won't stay on that view of this play. I just think it's really interesting that Stefanski and his staff didn't do anything to help this guy so many times, and he's just getting beat by the same topside rush over and over and over. It's not so simple to just say, hey, we need you to set quicker. Sure, go ahead. And then Hutchinson's going to spin to the inside. I mean, Hutchinson has all the moves. It's not like you're dealing with a guy who only has a speed rush. And I just don't understand how they're working this running back opposite so many times to basically help, on the DN / outside linebacker on the other side, leaving Aidan Hutchinson one-on-one. It's almost like they didn't watch the Green Bay game. Hey, we need to try to chip him, double him as much as possible, and make someone else beat us. Of course, if you watch the Ravens game from the previous week where there's 7 sacks split, I think, among 5 different guys, then you get the impression that everybody has equal levels of danger offered at the D-line position, and that's just not the case. It's Aidan Hutchinson, and then everybody else is a level or 2 below. Great punt return by Raymond. It takes back to the house, makes it 27-10. I'll cover that in a separate video. I'm not going to focus on it here. Last play that we'll show is his actual forced fumble, and again, you see that same stance from Hutchinson, angled down towards the ground, It's already 27-10. I'm a little shocked at the inability, not just the lack of adjustment from Stefanski, but no awareness from Flacco. It's almost like each time that you see these moves work, he's unaware that Aidan Hutchinson is lined up over to that side. There are times I continue to be amazed at NFL teams' lack of specific preparation for the opponents that they're facing. In this case, Hutchinson is on fire, in my opinion, in the second half, playing extremely well. And the Browns acted like it was the first snap of the game, or he hadn't contributed anything at all. The route was on, really, at this point. 27-10, you forced a fumble. Whether it was returned or not would have been a cool moment. If Nowatzki got a defensive touchdown, would have been a cool moment as well if DJ Reed was able to take it back to the house. Same play from the end zone angle. Try to let this flow through a couple of times. Watch the running back who's on Hutchinson's side. He's going to work across, and Muhammad is going to end up being the edge rusher because they drop out Nowatzki. So inexplicable to me that the running back is working away from Hutchinson with how poorly this matchup was going for Cleveland. I don't know what your thoughts on it, what other people have said, whose film study analysis you may watch. I mean, I'm not taking away from Hutchinson. This is what you want for him. You want one-on-ones. And I think that this just shows you absolutely cannot leave him unblocked so often when he's on a roll. When he's got a move that's working, let's do it that way. When he shows up and his 97-mile-an-hour fastball is 99, or his 91-mile-an-hour slider is 93 today, or whatever, he's got a great move working. You're going to have to adjust, and in this case, the Browns didn't at all. Really a great job by Kelvin Shepard's defense, second week in a row. You guys know what I think of the Browns' offense. I talked about it in the reaction video yesterday. Really poor offense, one of the lowest TOR rankings that we have tracking throughout the course of the season. I'm talking about season long. Hutchinson played a whale of a game. I expect more of this. He's incredibly determined, and he gets faster and more powerful as the game goes on. I feel like that dynamic was obvious yesterday. I didn't mean to denigrate Myles Garrett, but he does seem to fade as the game goes on longer. It's a huge engine that has to drive him. He's a large human being, and he plays with incredible intensity. But you saw, I think, yesterday examples of him coming out of the game mid-series or not being on the field for first and second down, and then he's on for third down. So there's a reason why they do that. That's not Aidan Hutchinson. I'm drawing a distinction between them. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Hutchinson has 4 sacks so far this year. I think 7 other QB hits, and all of those have been in the last 3 weeks. He's heating up heading into the Cincinnati game. Detroit's team globally is heating up. They've scored 122 or maybe 124 points in the last 3 games offensively. The defense deserves a credit as well. They made the Ravens one-dimensional, meaning remove the run game, and they sacked Lamar 7 times. Then this week they constricted the Browns totally. Held Cleveland to 3.8 yards per play, 9 quarterback hits, 10 PDs, a very active group. All the high-profile names are playing well, but they're also getting a lot out of guys like Nowatzki, O'Connor, Muhammad in recent weeks. I will have a Jack Campbell film study hopefully out Monday night. This might be the only one that I can produce today during the day. A little bit of a late start for me. But in any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. If you're unaware, likes and comments really drive the film study videos to get pushed out to a larger audience and helps generate more revenue for us. So if you want to see my work exposed to a larger audience, you can like, comment, or finally, you can grab a link to this video, share it out on social media to help this content get more reach directly. Appreciate you guys' time.